Hello, my name is Blake Garner, and today I'm going to offer some insight on security convergence. For this presentation, I'm going to use Constellation Energy as an example. Constellation Energy is a high-tech Fortune 500 company based in Baltimore, Maryland. Security is important for all organizations, but since Constellation Energy is so large, it is even more important as they have access to copious amounts of information. One way an organization can better their security is through security convergence. Before diving into Constellation Energy, I'm going to give a little bit of information on security convergence and what its strengths and weaknesses are. An organization's security department could be considered to be one of the most important departments it has, whether it be physical or cybersecurity. Whether the organization is protecting its physical attributes through fences and strategically placed trees, or if it's protecting its cyber network, both are equally important. Security convergence is the process of converging these two distinct security functions. Bob Violino stated that they were created as two separate departments with different people, cultures, and ways of thinking. By sharing skills, technology, and processes, and best practices, the two disciplines could more effectively defend against threats and deliver the kind of holistic security that organizations need. If the two departments were to converge, they'd be able to collaborate, share their ideas, their methods, and ultimately do what they are supposed to: protect the organization. Like everything else in life, there are strengths and weaknesses to security convergence. The strengths being that it is more efficient. It is more efficient when it comes to not only cost, but how fast you can access information. It costs significantly less to operate under one infrastructure system than two, mainly because an organization can cut labor costs by merging network and physical access monitoring. Moving services to one common network will allow organizations to access data faster. Now, on to weaknesses. The biggest weakness that I have found is that by converging physical and IT security, organizations are creating one point of failure. If it goes down, then they will be very vulnerable. Another disadvantage is that by converging devices are also less reliable and functional compared to their component parts. For example, watching a movie on a smartphone may not be as good as watching it in a traditional set with a DVD and television. So how can Constellation Energy increase the chance of effectively converging their operations together? And what strategies do I recommend in order to do so? Ultimately, it comes down to management. If an organization is under good management, things will flow more efficiently. Another key factor is communication. Everybody needs to be on the same page before beginning the convergence. Constellation Energy's management had a couple disagreements in regards to cost allocation. This, as well as other important topics, should have been discussed prior. Disagreements can cause an organization to be vulnerable to attacks. Trust is also extremely important. An organization needs to be able to trust that each employee does their job correctly. If they cannot trust an employee, then that means management or other employees will be spending their time and energy to double check what that untrustworthy employee is doing, which also makes the organization vulnerable. The best strategy to implement is training. Employees not only need to be trained for their specific role, but they also need to know others. Constellation Energy's current system is as follows. If a change needed to be made to a firewall, the information protection group would make a request and the IT infrastructure department would carry it out. If there was unusual activity on a port, information protection would disable it. They would call the network technicians. If a system needed to be patched, information protection would do the research and testing and then put the word out. The time gap between the information protection group making a request and the IT infrastructure gap carrying it out makes an organization vulnerable. If employees were trained in all aspects, they could eliminate that time gap. This goes back to a point I made on the previous slide. Hire good employees, train them well, and make them into a new breed of security specialists. To wrap it up, security convergence has its advantages and disadvantages. It is important for an organization to have great management, good communication, and trust. Organizations must hire great employees, and training should not be taken lightly. If you wish to read more on the subject, here are the references I used. I hope you enjoyed the presentation, and thank you for listening.